My name's Murphy GBR, and I am joined here with the console through tonight's third round of the GT3 Championship at Barcelona's Catalunya circuit. We've just come out of a free practice session which saw Bruce Law on top with Lecky just behind him. So it is going to be an interesting one, this. Lecky, a definite favourite circuit of his, and he's looking to get out on track and set some laps pretty soon on. And whilst we wait for these guys to run the hot lap, let's have a little walkthrough about what happened last week. Huge bit of upset for Bruce Law, who was the championship leader before Zolder, but he did get disconnected just before the start of the race last week. So he ends up with nil points on the standings table. So that allowed Fast AF Gamer to end up taking the victory in the end, with 1-13 finishing up in second place. And then Barend actually finishing up in third place. So Barend currently leads the championship. He's leading ahead of Fast AF Gamer, I believe, just bringing up the standings table now. Yep, Fast AF Gamer, he's got 4 points ahead of him in the championship standings, and it's actually joint second along with 1-13. Alaxon's just behind them on 45 points, and then Uniclark in fifth place with 42. We've then got Bruce Law trailing right behind after his 0 points scored. He did get 1 point, actually, I do believe, for his pole position. He's currently sat in sixth place on 38 points, so Bruce Law will be pushing pretty hard to get the race victory today, along with the 2 bonus points that are on offer for the pole position and the fastest lap. As Lecky looks as though he's just coming out of the tight chicane, let me hand over to our host for this evening. I am merely just a commentator. Alex, aka The Console, how you doing, mate?
I'm all good, buddy. All good. How's things?
Yeah, very well. Looking forward to this one, especially after seeing Lecky's times. He was whiskers away from Bruce Law's lap inside that free practice session. Whether or not that's going to be translated over to this qualifying, we're going to have to wait and see. But what do you make of it?
Well, I know for a fact Lecky's been putting in a lot of practice this week for especially this track. A bit of a favourite for him, and so that AMG is almost exactly as Lecky would like it. And it's good to see him running up the front where he belongs. He had a good showing at Zola last week, but won't be an easy task by any stretch. You've got Bruce Law, Faster Gamer, who we know are all lightning quick, ST Bath and Uniclark as well in that same sort of category. So yeah, be interested to see what he can do. Hopefully he get up there and mix it up a bit.
Let's have a look inside the vehicle at the moment. So we are watching on board with Lecky. See how he tackles this one. And a touch of brakes, it seems as though, yeah, lift off, touch of brakes. Looking pretty balanced. Quite often we see with Lecky and his setups, he quite likes a rear end to step out, but it's looking pretty well poised, this.
It does make a change for Lecky. Normally he's looking at the sort of the side windows there, but very planted through all of this stuff. This is usually the bit that catches him out, is this final stadium section here, coming into the final 2 chicanes.
Let's have a look then, keeping away from that curb on the right hand side, which is pretty wise. You don't want to unbalance the car. You can of course ride the curbs onto this one. You do have to watch out for the race director giving you a slowdown penalty though if you cut just that little bit too much off the first one. But it looks to be a pretty solid lap. Let's see what it comes in at as he crosses the line. So it's 1:45.8, which isn't too far away from his time in free practice. I do believe that we saw a 1:45 in there. Let's flip on over to Bruce Law. He's out on track at the moment. He's also going to be running a hot lap.
It's a very strong start from Lecky.
It is, really is, and he's got plenty of time as well to maybe make some improvements upon that as well. As this session continues on, we've got 20 minutes worth of qualifying for these lads. We're down to 15 minutes and 30 seconds, and then it's going to be 45 minutes of on-track action. And remember folks, accelerated tyre wear is on. The damage is performance impacting only, so not full damage on this one. But they will have to manage those tyres on what appears to be a very sunny Circuit de Catalunya.
So tyre management is going to be key here. The front left especially takes an absolute pounding, and it doesn't get any easier on the last that last stadium section there. So that exit, the corner we're seeing Bruce just go through there now, can be quite ropey, as we see someone in Janetta finding that out. So time management is going to be key, and more importantly, just staying out of everyone's way. The run down into turn 1 from the grid is very tight, very close. Picking up damage early on can really affect the outcome. Obviously, in the later stage, everyone picks up damage. It's really easy to do, especially a lot of these fast corners. These sort of fast, long, sweeping corners. Very easy for the car just to break grip and step out on you.
Yeah, especially not so much over the tyre wear. I mean, that's going to play a massive factor, but the tyre temperatures as well can quite often sneak up on you, especially depending on how the drivers have got their heads-up display set up on how they're driving. It can quite easily just get completely missed, and all of a sudden, through those long sweeping corners that Alex has just been mentioning, your tyre temperatures creep up, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, your grip just slips away from you, and all of a sudden on what's is usually a pretty innocuous turn, all of a sudden your back end's coming around the front and you've got to try and recover it. So Bruce Law is currently sat in pole position. He's snuck underneath the 145s at the moment. 144.591 from Bruce Law. Fast AF Gamer in second place with Lecky in third. Let's switch over to Uniclark in his big yellow Bentley, currently in a provisional fourth place, 1.5 seconds away from the lead. Not really a track that I'd expect the Bentley to be able to really dig deep on, but I mean, he's surprised us in other events that we've had throughout the season so far, hasn't
he? Uniclark's, well, as we've said in the last 2 rounds, super solid performances week in, week out, and how he does it in that Bentley, I do not know. Absolute beast of a machine, but it works for him, and it's always nice to see a mix of cars sort of battling out of the front.
Definitely, it's a pitfall that you can quite often fall into in project cars too, where in a lot of the classes the balance of play is just so off that you'd be a fool not to go for the preferred car choice. Not so much in the GT3s though. A lot of drivers can make different cars work for them. We've got a surprisingly low amount. In fact, I don't think we've got any Lamborghini Huracans, which we've seen in the Robbins Racing days absolutely dominate the field, so definitely refreshing. I've got quite a few Mercedes-Benz AMGs though, and that is definitely up there alongside the Lamborghini Huracan. But looks as though Uniclark's hooking it up. I mean, as you mentioned, we've commented on the 2 previous races so far this season on Uniclark, but the way that Bentley looks planted to the road is just, it baffles me, it beggars belief. But he's making it work for him at the moment. He has got a little bit of time to claw up though in order to get into that leapfrog Lecky in that second row, and even more time to make up to try and challenge Bruce Law or Fast AF Gamer. Fast AF Gamer, of course, in his in his BMW M6, whereas Bruce Law is in that Mercedes-Benz AMG that I mentioned earlier.
The other thing to keep in mind as well is that if Uniclark stays, where is he now? If he jumps just in front of Uniclark and takes fourth, he'll have the inside into turn 1, which might benefit him in the race if he doesn't think he's got the pace to get right up the front. As you see there, he's gone third fastest, so if he stays put, it'll be on the outside into turn 1, which can be a little bit hairy.
Yeah, the outside is definitely not really where you want to be. You're going to have to avoid a lot of cars, and that second corner, although it looks quite innocuous, it can really catch you out, especially as you've got cars going over the outside of the circuit. The outside line is actually pretty quick through there, and it doesn't require much turn for the one that follows it, so you don't have to move across the track too much. So it's definitely a tough one to start off on. I mean, in real world racing previously, you can see quite a lot of action in the first few corners around this circuit. You don't often, especially in the F1, see much action after that, but it's notoriously a tricky place to try and overtake. But I think in this GT3 classification, and when you're not going to come out of your car seriously injured if you have an accident, we'll see these cars pushing each other as much as possible. So Bruce Law remains in first place. Looks as though St. Bath is currently in second place. Then Fast AF Gamer in third with Uniclark provisional fourth. Lecky and Wanta currently 5th and 6th. We did see a really solid effort from Luna Zodiac. He got himself up into 4th position, but he started to slip down now as the rest of the drivers have put in some hot laps. 1-13, great showing last week. I mean, it was benefited by Bruce Law getting disconnected just before that race, but he's really showing himself to be a really competitive driver in this GT3 classification, especially in that Porsche 911. One of only 2 drivers in the Porsche. Keep an eye out for the other, the bright green and black vehicle of Luke, who's currently in 10th position at the moment, 3.455 seconds off the pace. Let's see whether or not Wanta can make some improvements this time around. It looked on the final sector to be a little bit sloppy, but we'll see if there's an improvement to be made, and there is. It's a massive improvement. That puts him up into 3rd place, so he tops out this second row so far. We've currently got 9 minutes remaining of the session, so let's bring up the top 5 splits here so that we can have a look at how they progress. We've got 12 drivers on the grid, 11 on track at the moment. There's just Luna Zodiac potentially making some final adjustments to his vehicle before he gets out for this final stint of qualifying. And it looks as though St. Bath, which is Bahrain, has actually found himself in provisional pole position with a 144.222. Almost 2/10 quicker than Bruce Law at this point. Bruce Law is going to be gripping his steering wheel as tight as he can and stomping on that go louder pedal, that's for sure. He's going to want to try and get that back. Definitely in need of those bonus points for the pole position, as we see Wanta there getting a little bit sloppy. Let's switch over to Bruce Law. Let's see how his lap's going. It looks as though he's just coming out of the first sector. In fact, it looked as though he was warming his tyres. This could well just be an outlap.
And that is good to see from Wanta taking that 3rd position, but this does tie up with what we've seen again in the last 2 rounds. He's always shown us a great pace, just always lacked that sort of consistency you needed in during the race. So you can see him parked up there, look. So hopefully he can keep a level head, keep himself out of danger and out of trouble, and perhaps, well, with that sort of pace, bring back a podium.
Yeah, if he can keep that going throughout the race. I mean, we saw him sort of battling with Union Clark, I think it was, around Zolder, door to door for lap after lap after lap, and it was the same as well with Fast AF. So we see all U82 there just getting a little bit sloppy, having to use the runoff. So we're currently tracking Lecky around, trying to see whether or not he can make some improvements. I think there is a little bit more in that car. I think we did see an improved time upon his qualifying time in practice, so he just needs to maybe find a bit of clear track and hook it together in the final 7 minutes of this session. Let's bring up the track map so we can have a look at where our drivers currently are. We've got a lot of congestion going on, just coming through the first sector, and it looks as though Uniclark, I don't know whether or not it was, I got a sign flashing up saying Uniclark had been disconnected. It looks as though he's back in the room and his time is standing though, so nothing to worry about there, just a little bit of lag of information, I think. Let's see if Lecky can make an improvement this time around. There's not going to be an improvement from him, so he's got another lap to do it. Let's flick back over to Bruce Law. He's now on his hot lap, so he was just on an out lap last time around. We saw him slowing down and getting some heat into the tyres, doing some swerving. But now he's found himself in loads of clear air, so he can really put the hammer down and see what this AMG is made of. Looks as though he's going slower this time around, so he's going to have to try again next time. 3/10 off the pace at the moment, we saw flashing up on the screen.
It looks like the guys are struggling with heat in the tyres here. I think maybe the track where they've all been out on it is sort of heated up a bit, and now they're struggling to get the sort of back to the levels where they're comfortable at earlier on in the session. As you hear sort of Bruce's car, they're sort of feathering on and off there.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not he was feathering because of his tyres or whether or not he was potentially just taking it relatively easy, trying to get the momentum into this one. I'm sure we'll hear from him towards the end of it. But tyre temperatures, of course, around Barcelona this time of the year are going to be pretty hot when the skies are this clear. Remember, folks, that our qualification sessions are actually simulated at 12 o'clock noon, so Mad Dog's an Englishman out in the midday sun at the moment. We've got our race beginning at 1 o'clock in the simulated time, so the temperatures are going to continue to rise. And as we saw in the Formula Renaults this morning, that is definitely going to play pretty tricky. And if you missed that race, by all means, head on over to our YouTube channel, which is FluxMotorsport TV. Type that into YouTube and you'll find a list of all of our championships via playlists. The Formula Renault from this morning, though, around Imola, that currently won't be on a playlist. You'll see that on our latest upload behind this one. And of course, to make sure that you don't miss any of the action here at Flux, be sure to hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified whenever we go live. Also, if you're racing on a PlayStation 4, on Project Cars 2 or any other sim racing platform of your choice, be sure to head on over to FluxMotorsport.com and hit the join button so that you can be part of our community. We're currently only offering Project Cars 2 racing, but you'll find yourself a lot of competent drivers that tend to race on a lot of different platforms. You see Bruce Law having to abandon another lap as well. That stadium section catching him out. So let's have a look over to one of our other drivers as he tries to hook it up. See if Lecky's got any improvements to be made. Looks as though Fast AF Gamer just pulling over to the side, letting the other cars through, so potentially making a mistake there to then pull on over. Don't see him jumping into the pits either. So current lineup in qualification at the moment, we can see there Lecky making a 1/10 improvement. So it's St. Bath at the moment sat on provisional pole. Bruce Law can't shift him at the moment, currently sat in second place. Fast AF Gamer has done enough for third so far in the final 3 minutes to go, with Wanta in fourth, Uniclark in fifth, and then this chap that we're currently tracking on screen, Lucky 2000, sat in sixth place. He is looking like he's going to make an improvement. Don't think it's going to be enough for fifth place at the moment though to leapfrog over Wanta. We'll have to wait and see. Will have been a mighty good final sector if it is. And no, it looks as though that final sector's actually cost him dearly. He was 1/10 up coming out of sector 2. Finds himself 3/10 down come the start finish line. Let's give, as we see him there, obviously had enough. Decides to spin it round. He's going to have to wait until the traffic passes before he has another bite of it. Let's jump on with Bruce Law. He's just gone past Lecky as Lecky recovers and gets back on track. So Bruce Law with 19/10 to make up at this point.
Well, it looks like in the background there, Faster Gamer still not opting to go for a hot lap just yet. Obviously still biding his time, maybe just trying to find a bit more of a gap before he has one final crack at it, but time is definitely running out on him.
Yeah, I think on a lot of circuits as well, we quite often, you know, we put all our eggs in one basket when it comes to qualifying. Obviously you want that bonus point, you want the best foot forward when it comes to starting the race, but on a lot of tracks it doesn't make a huge amount of difference so long as you know, not way back down the grid. Front two rows really stand you in a good shout, but I think at Catalunya, at least being in first place or starting on that front row gives you the best possible opportunity to try and make up a lot of time, because it just forces all of the other cars down. When we reach the Constantina effect of the braking coming into turn one, they're going to have to try and be nice and delicate, make sure that they don't take out the leader. As we see Bruce Law there, perhaps just cutting a little bit too much off that final turn of the chicane. Is this one going to be valid? Let's have a look, see whether or not there's an improvement to be made. Doesn't look as though there is. In fact, it looked as though it might have been an outlap. So it flashing up with 13 seconds down, so he's got one more bite of the cherry. Have to wait and see how this one goes. In the meantime, let's flick on over to Wanta. Let's see how he's getting on. He's currently sat in fourth on the grid. Looks as though he's got Luke just behind him as well in his like-for-like Porsche.
And Faster Gamer's jumped back into the pit, so obviously he's happy with where he is. Third place is going to see him start on the outside line, but as you mentioned earlier, some people can make that work. So maybe a bit of a tactical decision for him. With any luck, Wanta should just make the line now for one final crack at the whip, trying to upset those top three.
Looks as though he has. I mean, his last time around was 2.7 off the pace, so it's all or nothing now for Wanta. We'll continue to track him around, but let's keep an eye out on what's going on as the rest of the drivers begin to cross the line. So currently St. Bath in provisional pole position, Bruce Law in second. Bruce Law currently out on a lap though. Fast AF Gamer, he's currently sat in the pits, hoping that nobody gets quicker than his 144.59. Then Wanta, who we're currently tracking, sat in fourth, but 14 tenths off the pace at the moment. Uniclark is in fifth position. He's gone into the pits, so Lecky can perhaps make an upset. And then we've got Luke just behind Wanta, as Luke looks as though his lap's over with. Didn't quite catch it all, but he just got too much of the grass on the outside, and that spun him right round.
That's a real tricky exit, to be fair. There, when you get onto it, if you get the rear wheels onto that curb just wrong, it will just spit you out, as we saw.
Yeah, there's a few places like this where the curbs dip away and you're just left with grass or dirt. Same with the entrances on some of these corners. If you're perhaps trying to cut that little bit too much off and run the corner through straight, you put that power down and you can quite often be facing the wrong way come the end of it. Looks as though Wanta's going to abandon this one. It sounds as though he's lift off, and I saw a little double turn in there which suggests it as well. Really slow through this chicane section, so I think that is going to be the running order for today's race. Looks as though St. Bath's got it, but we'll wait until he crosses the line so that we can get confirmation on the final running order. So after seeing what you've seen, Alex, who did you say your money's on?
Well, I'd like to see Wanta do well this week. Faster Gamer put in a solid performance at Zolder last week, so it'd be interesting to see him and Bruce battle it out. But St. Bath was absolute flying, really. So all to play for. I don't know. It's just, they're all separated by not even a second up to fourth. So really hard to pick them apart.
Not much as well when we go down as well. Looking at the 2 second boundary, you've got to go down as low as Lunar Zodiac in 7th. So let's have a little run through the starting grid for today's race. St. Bath gets that pole position and that bonus point. I'm sure Bruce Law will be fuming about that, but Bruce Law starts in second position alongside him on the front row. Second row we've got Fast AF Gamer on 1 to 13, followed by Uniclark and Lecky 2000 on the third row. Lunar Zodiac and KML Brian join up behind them with All You 82 and Luke Snipes just behind those boys. Then we've got All Right Turkish and Old Smoky. Didn't see much of those two throughout that qualification session, but I'm sure that we'll be seeing plenty of them as we go on to tonight's grid. So 2 minutes worth of tinker time to get these boys set up. They're going to have to set the race strategies up to try and balance out whether or not they're going to come in for tyres or whether or not it's just going to be any damage repairs. I think most of these cars are going to be able to deal with the amount of fuel required for 45 minutes of action, so I'm not expecting any fuel stops. It is just a case of whether or not they're going to change over those tyres. I think a lot of the drivers will be opting for the hard compound tyres. Not many of these guys want to take the risk on the softs, especially on a hot Barcelona day.
I think the only way I see someone changing tyres will be if they pick up damage and they have to come into the pits that way. And even then, it'll probably be only a change to the front left. I mean, while you're there, you might as well get some new boots. So yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think that there's a lot of time to be saved by just changing the front tyres. I don't think we're going to see much wear on the rear, but I think for the time it'll cost you to change those front boots and be able to push hard on them. It'll be interesting to see, especially if they've set the race strategies up as well. We could well see some later stops, maybe opting for the soft compound tyres just to try and push that little bit harder when the fuel loads are a little bit lower. Go for that little bit of extra grip, because we do know that they're going to wear pretty heavy. But 35 seconds remaining and then we're going to be ready for lights out. So are we going to see any first corner action? Hopefully nothing too sinister, hoping all these guys get around, but there's plenty of options so long as somebody gets a good start. I think Bath is definitely going to be balancing that clutch as best he can to stem off the challenge of Bruce Law. That M6 is also pretty quick off the line, as well as the Bentley, so a couple of seconds to go. And here we are, all 12 drivers currently on the grid, just waiting for the lights. And here they come. And we're away here at the Circuit de Catalunya. Looks as though it was quite a slow start from St. Bath. Bruce Law looks to go up alongside, around the outside, and he's actually taken first position, 1 to 13 as well. He's right up in the middle. The two cars have come together, and that is St. Bath just managing to keep it on. So bit of contact between the two. It looks as though Uniclark has also got wrapped up. Lecky's also pinballing off St. Bath. Wanter ends up falling right back. So big bit of action there. Two cars coming side by side. Looks as though Wanter got sucked into it. So we've now got Bruce Law running from Fast AF Gamer with Lecky in third place, St. Bath in fourth. Doesn't look as though he's picked up too much damage, but I'm sure we'll see it. Then Luna Zodiac and his McLaren have made it all the way up into fifth, followed by KML Bryan in sixth. He actually falls back down into seventh, it seems, from Luke.
And Uniclark has dropped all the way to the back, so he's obviously a big loser in that turn one as well.
Yeah, we saw plenty going on. I think it was actually turn two where Uniclark, I think it might well have been when Wanter came back onto the track. Looked as though Uniclark got pushed out wide onto the gravel on the left-hand side. So we're currently following with St. Bath. Doesn't look as though there's that much damage on the front of the car, so hopefully he's got away from that. I mean, he just missed that tyre wall coming out of the, just over the edge of the grid. It looks as though Wanter then just coming into the rear of Luna Zodiac. Wanter's going to want to try and get his head settled here. Doesn't want to try and pick up any stewards' inquiries. I do believe he was raised against one last week. So we see Lecky there just getting really sloppy. Did he come together with St. Bath? St. Bath in the wars. He ends up getting collided with Luna Zodiac. I think we're going to have a very, very angry Dutchman come the end of this. St. Bath now all the way down to the back of the grid, it seems, and with a lot to do. So our pole sitter from the start of the race ends up finishing the first lap almost at the back. It looks as though All Right Turkish has just lost out. So now it looks as though we've got Bruce Law led in ahead of Fast AF Gamer, and then 2.5 seconds back, maybe 3 seconds back, we've got Luna Zodiac in his McLaren 12C, followed by Wanter, and then it looks as though Luke actually not qualifying too well, but he's found himself all the way up into 5th place. So if he can maintain that, it's going to be a job done from him, I think.
What's interesting to see is that Luna has been struggling with that McLaren in the last couple of rounds, so obviously he's got something sorted or just favouring this track. It looks, the McLaren car looking much more settled than underneath him. Hopefully he can hang on to that podium position. That'll be a massive result for him. Definitely got his work cut out for him. Wanter applying the pressure, and Uniclark and St. Bath, Lecky, all sort of sitting later in the pack, who are going to be wanting to make a bit of recovery of this race already.
Most definitely, but Luna Zodiac definitely, as you said, looks as though he's got that car planted compared to his previous weeks, and I think we saw him just as we flicked over and saw the challenge from Wanter, but he did run a little bit wide, but even when he's run wide, it still looks pretty well planted, and he's definitely pulling away from Wanter. We saw Wanter potentially with a slowdown, as maybe I spoke a little bit too soon, just locking up that rear axle, it seems, but really stable through that stadium section.
So you can see Luke as well, just hanging on to the back of these two here, biding his time. It's a long race, as we said, each week. There's no harm in letting these guys fight it out and sort of take the life out of their tyres, really, by fighting too hard, just playing the patient in the long game.
It's so easy to pick the pocket and pick up the pieces when you've got two drivers ahead of you battling. It looks as though Luke as well is holding his distance between all U82 and Lecky that are behind him as well. If we just switch over to Lecky and jump into the chase cam, looks as though he's about to try and make his move on all U82. Is he going to have a look at the inside? Thinks again about it. Looks as though he might be going for a bit of a cutback, maybe looking to take that inside line off him. No, not going to be this time around, but he's certainly sniffing around the back of that blue AMG.
Yeah, so
a move coming up here around the outside. I've seen Lecky make this one stick a couple of times. runs ever so slightly deep and then goes outside looking up in. But that line is definitely blocked by all your 82.
Well, Lecky showed excellent pace in qualifying, so just needs to just relax, get back in the groove of it, and when he's overtaking, he's almost wait for the straights like he's doing here, try not to take the life out of the tyres too early on. He doesn't want to get caught up in these sort of dogfights because he's going to need the car when he sort of gets towards the front of the grid. So yeah, bit of patience for him. Long race, just relax and let the car do the work, as it were.
Yeah, so we are currently 5 minutes into our 45-minute session here at Barcelona. Plenty of action to speak of in the first couple of laps. Let's switch on over and see how this is progressing through between Wanta. It looks as though Wanta's got past Luna Zodiac, so Wanta currently in third place, Luna Zodiac in fourth, and it looks as though if he's not careful, he's going to be challenged by Luke as well.
Looks like Lecky's getting the move done in the background there as well.
See whether or not we can catch that in the background. He has definitely got that move made now, Lecky. And he's already found himself a couple of car lengths ahead, so patience has paid off for the member of our moderator team here at Flux Motorsport, currently residing in 6th place. And if we switch over to Luke Snipes, let's have a look at how that split time that you can see in the middle of your screen is changing up, whether or not he's able to gain on Luke Snipes. Luke Snipes has made leaps and bounds of improvement compared to his first two races. He's really struggled with that Porsche, keeping it on the straight and narrow. I mean, we are quite early on, but so far it's looking very, very good from Luke. I think a lot of drivers have perhaps used the last week to put in some tinker time and really work on the car setups in preparation for Barcelona.
Well, the first two rounds were two very different tracks, obviously Silverstone and Zolder, so that'll give them a lot of information about what they like and what they don't like about the cars, and coming to a track like Catalunya, which has got a little bit of everything, a little bit of something for all. I think now we're just seeing it sort of all start to come together for them.
Just so Lecky there, having a little look up the inside. I thought he was going to get that move done then on Luke Snipes. He definitely had the better line around the long right-hander, but he thought better of it, didn't want to put his nose in a position where he might get it taken off, so he's going to try and do it down into the run-up to turn one. He's got the slipstream at the moment, and we know that AMG has got plenty of power, so he moves up into the inside. He's going to try and have to do it under braking, comes up alongside and both drivers onto the brakes. It looks as though the Porsche actually onto the brakes a little bit too late and running a little bit deep, so that's allowed Lecky to come through. Lecky 2000 now in 5th position. So we're looking at Bruce Law leading to Fast AF Gamer with Wanta 13 in 3rd place, with Luna Zodiac in 4th, and now Lecky in 5th. Let's have a little bit of a look down the running order. We've got all U82 currently being challenged by St. Bath. So St. Bath has made it all the way from the back of the pack up without much hassle. Currently 18, nearly 19 seconds off the leader. I beg your pardon, it's 20 seconds off the leader, so he's got a mountain to climb, but we know that he's got the pace there, provided that he hasn't picked up too much damage from those little bits of contact. I don't think the one with Wanta would have seen much damage, but he did take a pretty heavy impact from Luna Zodiac, I think it was, into the final chicane. So perhaps just working hard to keep it together at this point. Doesn't want to pit, as we see him right up the gearbox of all U82, maybe a little bit too much so, and having to brake after a potential bit of contact there between the two, and we see him dropping right away. So let's switch back on over to a battle at the moment we've got for 3rd place between Wanta and Luna Zodiac. Luna Zodiac still keeping within touching distance of Wanta at the moment, and keeping it around about that 2nd stage. So yeah, I don't know what Luna Zodiac's done from last week, but maybe it is just the fact that, as you said, two very different circuits between Silverstone and Zolder, whereas I actually think Catalunya is a pretty good 3rd stage in this championship, because it combines elements of the two. You've got the fast flowing lines that you potentially have of Silverstone, some of the heavy braking areas that you get in Zolder. I mean, Zolder itself has two pretty complex chicanes, one of them very fast, one of them extremely slow. So maybe a good combination to find the best balance out of your setup so far.
And it could just be something as this track it could just be something simple as just this is a favourite track of his, maybe just a bit more suited.
Could well be. I don't know how new he is to GT3 racing, but he's certainly finding it into his own at the moment, especially if he can get a 4th position spot. I mean, we can see he's actually making gains on the leader through certain sections of this. Lecky's currently pushing hard though, I do believe. We can see his split times coming down.
And it looks like Wantor, I've got a slowdown there, but he wasn't making time up on onto 2nd place as much as he probably would have liked, although the gap from Luna was I thought would have been enough for him to sort of not have to be defending quite so hard, but now he's definitely fallen back into Luna's clutches.
It's going to take a bold move through this section, but if he gets the run up onto the start-finish straight, he's definitely inside that slipstream at the moment, and it should be relatively easy pickings. It looks as though that was a pretty bold move to keep on onto the slipstream. I know I'd have probably maintained my line, but we can see Lecky also falling in line with it as well. See him bobbing and weaving, trying to hold his dominance at the moment. He's going to try and make it stick around the outside, and he's made it count as well, as the back end just slips away from him and he loses a bunch of time and a couple of places, it seems. It was a definite bold choice by Luna Zodiac. Don't know whether or not there was contact between the two. Did you manage to catch that, Alex?
I couldn't quite see on my screen if there's maybe a little tap from Wanto as Luna just came across the track there, but a bold move, A for effort in everyone's book. It's definitely, if you can pull it off, it looks fantastic. Just unlucky there, either the rear stepping out or taking a little bump, and gifting Lecky the place really. So Lecky's will have Wanto in his sights, and he'll be looking to get that done sort of pronto. We've seen Lecky made two good overtakes into turn 1, so let's see what he can make of it.
It was interesting. That was actually the line that I was speaking of, and I was expecting some drivers to try and take into turn 1 from the start. It seemed as though a lot of drivers aiming for the apex, but really very nearly made it happen there, Luna Zodiac. He's not lost a great deal. He's currently maybe 2 seconds back, in fact less than 2 seconds back it seems to Lecky at the moment. But Lecky now is making pretty substantial gains onto Wanto. Wanto's been a little bit sloppy through this section, and Lecky looks as though he's got it dialed in, as we see the split time there just completely falling away. So whether or not Lecky can get the drive out and maintain throughout the start finish, does look as though he's making it count though.
Lecky has nailed that exit at that final corner. He gets a great drive onto this straight, and it looks like he's a little too far back, but it's just been so good onto the brakes into turn 1, which is what's proved to be the winning combination for him.
Yeah, if you can maintain this level of momentum through this uphill section, looks as though he's fallen away for it, but he is opting for a different line, and this is what you don't see in the F1. These cars playing to each other's weaknesses and opening up those variants in lines that this fantastic circuit can offer. Plenty of spaces to try and make your gains, and Lecky's certainly finding a lot of them now. Some of them quite traditional, some of them a little bit unorthodox. But Lecky's still hassling the back of Wanto. We see Wanto, he's done it now with a couple of drivers on the start-finish line, as we see him there just potentially picking up a slowdown. But on the start-finish line, he's bobbing and weaving all over the place. I wonder whether or not Lecky will be onto that and maybe just maintain the slipstream, and then as soon as Lecky's made a mistake, looks as though the exit coming into that corner, Lecky has made a big mistake, and it's going to cost him 2 places. I think we've got Luke now coming up onto the inside, and he's got that much overspeed. He's going to hold it, so Lecky, costly one there, falls all the way back down to 6th place, and it looked as though he had it in the bag. Just talking about his tactics onto the start finish, and it's not going to be.
That's a real shame to see. He was having a good go of it and giving Wanto every look in the book, trying to make that happen. Just couldn't hang on to it for that fast right-hander.
I can tell Lecky's got his game face on there though. He's straight back ahead of Luke Snipes, really battling hard, not giving Luke any opportunity to maintain that 5th position. So Lecky's going to have to work hard for it, that's for sure. Let's have a little look over to our leader. We'll come back over to that battle, but Bruce Law at the moment, just wanted to check out, because I did see his times dropping away ever so slightly. Just wanted to see whether or not there's any damage, but that AMG looks squeaky clean. So let's get back over to that battle for 5th place.
The other thing as well, with Lecky dropping back like that, that's going to be released 1 to 13, so he's going to have to really get the pedal down to make up this gap to the front too. Currently just over 14 seconds back, so it's going to be a massive effort for him, but he's in clean air now on his own, so I'm interested to see what he can get done.
It does look as though he's putting the hammer down ever so slightly. I just saw his split time from the leader dip down to 18.5. It's since come back up, but 1 to 13 is perhaps taking the advice of Alex now and trying to put that pedal down, trying to build up as much of a gap as he can to the 4th place of Lunar Zodiac, but more importantly, try and make gains up to Fast AF Gamer, who's currently sat in 2nd place. Fast AF Gamer has actually done very well to stick to 4.5 seconds away from Bruce Law. We know that Bruce Law has got the pace, but Fast AF Gamer currently lapping quicker than our race leader. So Bruce Law may have to dig deep at certain stages of this. 28 minutes and 50 seconds remaining inside this session. So I'm sure that we'll see Bruce Law having to put his sort of qualifying pace down in certain laps just to maintain that lead. But now we see Lecky 2000 all over the gearbox of Lunar Zodiac in that McLaren. Is he going to get the drive again? Which way are they going to go? It looks as though Lecky just having a look up the inside, maybe trying to force that move from Lunar Zodiac. He then makes it when he doesn't take it, and it looks as though he's had to back away from it, going for his optimum line, and it looks as though Lunar Zodiac's made a mistake and just gifted it to Lecky 2000 as we see Old Smokey coming into the pits. Let's have a look over to him. Let's see if there's any damage on that Ginetta.
While watching him
for the Ginetta.
While watching him come into the pits, Marcus Sarr on the YouTube comments saying, "Go Brian," and KML Brian needs to go faster. That is the general aim of the game, Marcus. KML having a good race at the minute, sitting in 8th. And only about 8 seconds off the back of St Bath, who we know has got damage, so hopefully he can close that down and take over 7th.
It looks like that Bruce Law just coming up to the back marker of All Right Turkish. 1 minute 33, so almost I was going to say almost a lap. He definitely is a lap, because I've just seen him being overtaken by Bruce Law, so I'm not sure what's going on with my timings there, but perhaps just not catching up. But Bruce Law running pretty clean ahead of Fast AF Gamer. We can see Fast AF Gamer's BMW there just in the background, so he's still within view, and that makes a massive difference when you're sort of trailing a driver as fast as this. You quite often feel the incentive to push within your limits when the car's in view. I know as soon as you see them pulling away and get out of view, your head can go down and you tend to maybe just run your own race, but at the moment it'll be spurred on by that.
Definitely, and it's 5 seconds, although it looks like a massive gap, that's only maybe one mistake, and Fast AF Gamer can close that back up, so the pressure's still definitely on for Bruce. It's not as big a gap as he would have hoped for and liked. But it doesn't seem to be able to get away.
It's not even a mistake either, is it?
No.
It's literally just a run off into one of the gravel trap areas and get yourself back on track without any sort of danger or thrills going on with it. Just get yourself back on track cleanly, and that 5 seconds can disappear in a moment. It looks as though All Right Turkish, just after he was passed by Bruce Law, he's gone into the pits as well. Wonder if that is for damage.
And what is an unusual sight is to see Uniclark all the way back there in 10th. I know we had an incident on lap 1. I don't know whether he's picked up some damage in the later race that we've missed, or just sort of really had his rhythm and confidence knocked, but it doesn't seem to be making up any pace to the LU82 in 9th ahead of him.
What could be interesting from it, I mean, if we switch over to him, I'm suspecting, we'll do it, there's not much damage on that car. What I'm wondering is, we did see Uniclark actually going over the gravel, but going over major impact, but maybe he's just maybe picked up a couple of flat spots, or as you say, just lost his head a little bit and struggled to get back into it. That being said, there could have been something happening on track as well that we haven't seen. We will have to wait till after the race, maybe pick up the word from the paddock and see whether or not any stewards inquiries come out of this one. Interesting enough, we did have a couple of stewards inquiries in last week's race. Just going over to those, so I think it was Wanta on Uniclark. Just bringing them up now.
And while Murphy goes and finds that, we've just had another shout out for Wanta from Bianca, saying go Wanta. So the fans are starting to creep out now, starting to show their support.
I'm not surprised. He's having an absolutely great race. Currently sat in third position. Let's switch over to him at the moment actually and see how he goes, see whether or not he's managed to find that rhythm. He was round about, I think it was 15 or so seconds away from Fast AF Gamer. He has dropped away a little bit, but that being said, Fast AF Gamer has been maintaining that 5 seconds away from the pace of Bruce Law. So Wanta 13 is running pretty well, and I think your call out before the start of this race is looking pretty solid. I think we are going to see potential for an inquiry into that start of this race. Did look as though the two cars just getting sucked together, but as we're saying, looks as though in the previous race both Uniclark ended up losing out because of an incident there that was actually ruled against him, so he ended up picking up some license points, but no penalty being applied, just because it was his car that got spun around. He actually lost out a lot more than the penalty time that he would have been issued. And 1-13 as well, misjudging his braking, actually came into contact with St. Bath, I think it was. Just recalling that race, I'm pretty sure it was St. Bath. Ended up picking up a 7-second penalty being applied to his finishing time, and also a license point removed from him. So we operate a regular UK style driving license here. I'm sure it's also the same in most of our European countries as well. 12 points allowed by the drivers throughout the season, and at various stages you will suffer some repercussions should you get to certain boundary marks within that license point. Looks as though KML Bryan has come in. Let's have a look at his car, see whether or not he's come in for damage repairs or whether or not it's just maybe for a change of tyres. Looks as though it is going to be for damage repairs. Thames, they got some tyres changed as well, depending on how long he was in the pits for. Switching back over to Wanta though for now. Continue to watch him. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
It's like Lecky is closing the gap onto Wanta after the spin. That 5 seconds is sort of being chewed away, and it looks like it's coming from these small little mistakes from Wanta, like we're seeing just on that last corner there, sort of locking up and taking the momentum out of the car. Obviously pushing harder than he'd like, and well, getting it wrong basically. And if he's not careful, this could seriously cost him.
He's going to want to try and maintain this this podium position, that's for sure. Lecky does look as though he slipped away ever so slightly, now falling back to 5.4 seconds, maybe just a little bit slow through that final section. But we'll wait and see how that builds up as we progress through this lap. 21 minutes remaining of this race here. It's been an absolute cracker. The drivers have now started to really settle in, and it looks as though we've got even spacing amongst most of our drivers. We've got Bruce Law leading ahead of Fast AF Gamer, and then in third place we've got Wanta 13, who we're currently tracking around just ahead of Lecky 2000, who is also ahead of Lunar Zodiac. And then St. Bath had a disastrous start. He's since been able to make it back up. In fact, looks as though we've potentially had a disconnect from this. I think it's Alright Turkish has left the session, so it's going to be a retirement from him. So KML Bryan is currently at the back of the grid in 11th, but he's only 8 seconds away from Old Smokey. and we saw in his qualifying times Kame O'Brien actually running quite a bit quicker than Old Smoky, so if he can start to get some laps together, he might find himself into that top 10. But where was I up to on the rundown? Of course, St. Bath, we've got Luke currently in 7th place, and then All U82 in 8th, who's about 13 seconds off the back of Luke. Luke's still having a good run on this, though. He's only 4 seconds away from St. Bath. I can't see him being able to catch him, but he may well just be able to maintain that position and pick up some pieces. As we see Wanta there getting his braking a little bit messy, running ever so slightly deep, and that's going to give Lecky a window of opportunity. In fact, it looks as though Lecky's fallen right away. Has Lecky made a mistake?
Either Lecky's made a mistake or Luna has found some cracking pace.
I think it was a mistake from Lecky. Lecky was maintaining around about 5.5 seconds off the back of Wanta, and just in that little entrance into the stadium section, I saw him gain a couple of seconds. So Lecky just needs to find his composure here. We're past the halfway point in this race. He may well be starting to suffer from the tyres. We've seen him push pretty hard, and he's definitely the sort of player that when he does make a mistake, he grits his teeth and tries to make up for it. Sometimes a great way to try and make up the time, sometimes a surefire way to overcook your car or put yourself into the gravel, or even worse, a wall.
The person who's going to benefit the most from these two when they sort of catch up and start fighting is going to be St. Bath, who isn't sitting too far behind them and looks to be sort of just chipping away at it. So Lecky and Luna, although they're going to be fighting for position, have to be careful between themselves not to fall too far back, and the pair of them missing out to St. Bath.
Yeah, St. Bath currently running. He was currently around about 6 seconds behind these two cars that we're tracking on the screen at the moment. But as we saw in his qualification pace, he's got bags of it. Currently lapping round in 148.6s last time around, as we see Luna Zodiac there running a little bit deep into that tricky braking area. But mistakes like that are going to allow St. Bath to catch up and maybe make up for what was a disastrous start for the pole position sitter. It looks as though Lecky's continuing to lose time on Wanta at the moment, so I think maybe Wanta, spurred on by his fans currently watching on YouTube, he's making gains upon Lecky, sat in 4th place and securing that podium position ever more. It looks as though just at the back of our screen I could see St. Bath on the run up to the straight, just making it up. We can just see him there coming around that turn 1. So he's not too far away from these two. Now within 5 seconds.
What is still interesting is Uniclark still not able to close right up to All U82 there. Still sitting sort of about 6, sort of fluxing between 6 and 7 seconds off the back of him. So him having a real shocker after his sort of great pace in qualifying.
Oh, as we see Lecky getting very wide there. Oof, a very near miss with Luna Zodiac. Luna Zodiac will have definitely had a bit of squeaky bum going on there, but he makes it through without any mess made. And Lecky just paying the price for a little bit of oversteer.
A true professional.
Indeed, mate, always. But Uniclark, but based on that, I wonder, whether or not he has perhaps picked up some damage, and whether or not we'll see him come into the pits now rather than later, perhaps for a change of tyres, and maybe he'll just that'll give him the opportunity to push as hard as he can. It will have been a bold tactic, but he could. Well, I don't know. It's a hard one to call. I just can't imagine with the driver of Uniclark's calibre being that slow without some damage on the car. And he's been losing time off his regular pace for most of this race. We can see him now setting in 147s compared to the 149.2s of All U82, but we would expect him to be at least in the sort of top 6 or 7 in this race.
The only thing that might be worth a consideration for him if he can't find that pace, is to pit, repair the damage, put some new tyres on and go for that fastest lap point. If he pitted, he should still come back out in 9th place ahead of Old Smoky and KML. Obviously with the fresh rubber, he might have a chance of sneaking up to 8th and nabbing that extra point as part of the process.
Well, whilst we've got a little bit of time around from all of our drivers at the moment, let's have a look at the timing boards as they stand. So we can see there a 1 second penalty applied from the race director to Old Smoky, but the lap times at the moment looks as though the fastest lap is currently being held by Bruce Law with a 1:45.301. So that is the time to beat. Keep an eye up on the left hand side on the current race standings. If you see anything quicker than 1:45.3, they are the current fastest lap holder. But Bruce Law looking to do the clean sweep in the race. He did miss out on the bonus point for qualification, as we see Luna Zodiac absolutely eating it. That's going to be some pretty heavy damage, and that's going to be hard to recover from. He's going to have to be careful coming back onto the track. I thought he was going to sweep up St. Bath just to really ruin St. Bath's race, but that's going to be Luna Zodiac into the pits, I'm sure of it. And it looks as though he's missed the pit box, so he's sticking it out.
Brave, and that's what you were saying earlier, Murph, about the curbs, the exits here. Some of them are safe and friendly, others not so much, and it looks like he's just found the not so much camp there.
Yeah, most definitely. Big impact that as well, so I'm expecting some front suspension damage and a bare minimum on that car of Luna Zodiac. Keep an eye out for the front end switching away from him. In fact, it looks as though he's almost losing it again. Keeping it together though, so Aussie driver maintaining composure here, but that has allowed St. Bath through. So St. Bath now in 5th position after that terrible start and altercation that he got involved in. He also got in that first lap getting acquainted with Luna Zodiac, just coming through that chicane section where we saw him lose it. So it's just a testament to sticking it out there, I think, for St. Bath. Found himself all the way up into 5th place, and he's actually soon going to be up the trumpet of Lecky 2000 as well. He's not too far away from him. In fact, if we switch over to Lecky, we can see the split times. Currently sat 3.8 seconds, the difference between himself and St. Bath, whereas Wanter is maintaining that 10-second lead ahead of Lecky and looks to have all but secured that 3rd spot so long as he can maintain his position.
And we have seen from Lecky him make some mistakes all by himself, so St. Bath will be aware of that. And 3 seconds is again not a massive gap, albeit it looks it, that's only a small mistake and that will close right down. So a great recovery from St. Bath, come from the back of the grid and sort of slug it out his way back up to 5th, and what appears to be sort of hanging on, at least chipping away into Lecky's time as well, so potentially 4th for him.
Well, this is one of the areas that we've seen Lecky make the mistakes, not into turn 1 but actually into turn 2. Looks as though he's playing a much safer option here, avoiding all of those curbs. We've seen the back end just stepping away from him into turn 3 and on the exit of that, but he's looking much cleaner this time around, and it looks as though he's actually making gains on St. Bath as well. But in the meantime, Wanter has been able to pull out an extra second, so currently 11 seconds ahead of Lecky 2000. Let's switch on over to our leader at the moment. Let's have a look at Bruce Law and his 6.7 second lead ahead of Fast AF Gamer. Fast AF Gamer just coming into the site there. I just saw him at the very top of our screen, but unable to really keep in view. I think it's been a great race from Bruce Law, just showing what he is capable of, that we see him doing in all of our championships here at Flux Motorsport. And the only time that he's not got first position come the end of the race is the time that he was disconnected last week at Zolder in the GT3 championship. So 11 minutes remaining, and it will be a perfect score for every race that he started from our driver from Chester, showing his competency in many different car classes.
And it is good to see, although he's sort of putting in stellar performances week in, week out, the rest of the community is almost sort of playing him like the villain. He's sort of becoming the guy to beat. which I find is always handy to have. If you know what you're aiming for, there's the guy really. And Fast AF Gamer is definitely taking up the challenge as best as he can in GT3. He's staying within 7 seconds of him over this amount of time is a great effort. So yeah, it'll be a
testament to the young driver.
Absolutely.
Fast AF Gamer.
Absolutely. I'm sure there'll be a miniature trophy for first win against Bruce.
Oh, most definitely. I think I'll certainly be celebrating. I think Bruce Law would also be celebrating it as well. To be fair, if there's one thing that you can say about Bruce Law, aka Jack, it's that although he is, the man to beat, he will help out all of the drivers. You'll often see him popping into our setup chat, trying to give drivers pointers. We saw him actually sharing his GT1 setup with Speedy Gonhog last time around, which saw Speedy pick up a fantastic second in that GT1 race around Road America. And all round vital part of the community, really. Always there to help people out, always there to give advice, but also there to poke fun at people when he beats them. So a general talisman of what is a great community that we've got here. And of course, if you want to join this community, head on over to www.fluxmotorsport.com. You'll find the link on there on how to join our Discord. If you're not too familiar with Discord, it is a free app for any of the devices that you use, so PC, Mac, or your iPhone or Android mobile devices. Download that for free, click the link, and you'll be taken into our Discord welcome room where you'll be asked a couple of questions and then released into the big wide world of our community. You'll find plenty of community races going on through the week, so if you're fed up of that public lobby woe, get yourself on over here and you can be racing along with the guys that you see on screen, as well as plenty of others as well that unfortunately can't commit to the championships that we offer. But 8 minutes remaining, Bruce Law continuing to assert his dominance here against Fast AF Gamer. 1-13 remains in third place, just 38 seconds away from the leader, but maintained now a 7-second gap ahead of Lecky, so it's actually closed down a little bit. Let's flick on over to that and try and see whether or not we can see Lecky in the distance. You see him, he's got a little bit loose on that corner a number of times. So it's going to be another slowdown for him. Let's just have a look whether or not he's taking the slowdowns or whether or not he's taking the race director time penalties. I think he was completely clean. We only had a 1 second penalty being applied to Old Smoky last time we checked, and it remains the same at the moment, as does the fastest laps at the moment as well. So Bruce Law continuing to hold that fastest lap record throughout this race with a 1 minute 45 seconds .301. So bonus points will be going to him if nobody beats that in the remaining 7 minutes of this session.
And it looks like Luke has got past Luna, and Uniclark has managed to make up a position onto All U82 as well. So it's still chopping and changing at the back there.
Yeah, interesting as well. Looks as though St. Bath's pace is dropping away ever so slightly, and that might well allow Luke to come back up if Luke can hook some laps together. It does look as though perhaps a little bit of commentator's curse there, because I've just seen his splits completely falling away. In fact, let's go have a look over what's going on with Luke. You see he's just approaching the back marker there of KML Bryan, I believe, in his Audi R8. So Luke's had a really good run. I'm sure he'll be more than happy with this. I think he also had a pretty good run in the Formula Renaults as well last week. Not too sure about today, as we see KML Bryan there under blue flags and moving across, allowing him to pass through in his Porsche 911. So 6 minutes remaining on this one. We are lap 22. Go ahead, mate.
I was just going to say, it's just a poor outing for KML. He started the race so strong, and as we suspect, he picks up some damage somewhere in the middle part of the race, and it just ended up sort of at the back there on his own, not really able to make anything of it. But from what started as a strong, at least first quarter of the race, shame to see him fall that far back.
It is a shame. He's got a lot to learn, but he is a very young driver. I think he's 13. He might well be 14 years old now. So he's got plenty to learn. He's a passionate kart driver, but also loves his motorsport. I think perhaps it is just the maybe extended 45-minute sessions that we run here in the race, just unable to find those rhythms and perhaps gain some of the experience that a lot of these other drivers have in terms of balancing when to push and when to make a move. But he'll definitely learn that in time. He's certainly got the hot lap pace. It's just stringing that together in for the race. But let's have a little bit of a look down the running order. Looks as though Wanter is maintaining the 7 seconds ahead of Lecky at the moment, who in himself is also maintaining around about 6 or 7 seconds ahead of St. Bath. We've then got to go another 8 seconds back to Luke, who we're currently tracking. But then Lunar Zodiac, after picking up that damage, is 9 seconds off the back. You'll just see him coming around into the first corner, I think. No, he's not quite made it yet. He's fallen into that 10.2, 10.3 region behind Luke Snipes at the moment. Let's flick on back over in the final 4 minutes of this session to our race leader. And if you bring up the map, looks as though he's got quite clear running throughout all of this. So doesn't look as though he's going to catch up to any back markers for the remainder of this session, which means that all he's got to do now is keep it free and breezy, maintain that lead to Fast AF Gamer, but he has got 7 seconds to play with, and generally at the start of the race you wouldn't consider that to be too unachievable, but when you see Bruce Law putting in lap after lap without any drama, Fast AF Gamer is potentially going to be resigned to that second place, which I'm sure he'll be more than happy about. That is actually going to keep him ahead of Bruce Law in the championship standings after the drama disconnect of last week. Also, St. Bath isn't going to suffer too much compared to where he would have done from the start of the race either.
Looks like St. Bath is staying on pace with Lecky as well, so maybe you can dig just a little bit deeper and maybe just nab that. Only sitting sort of 2 seconds back, so not an impossible ask, but a big effort nonetheless.
I wonder if there's been a mistake there from Lecky. He did previously have around about 6 or 7 seconds just as we were tracking with Bruce Law, but you can see the difference in approach to that corner between the AMG and the Audi R8, between Lecky and St. Bath. Two very different approaches to the corner, and it looks as though St. Bath now within the 1 second region. Lecky's going to have to try and fight to keep hold of this 4th place. Got a bit of a mountain to climb, 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining of the session, so it's getting pretty close as to whether or not he's going to finish in the top 4 here, Lecky. But if St. Bath can get himself back into 4th place, that'll be a bit of a wonder drive from him after getting himself all the way down to the back of the grid temporarily and running just one ahead of the back of the pack, going into lap 2.
So Bath looks like he's driving for the exits on every corner here, just trying to get the best run he can onto that AMG. Obviously keeping in the back of his mind that as soon as they get to the straight, we should see Lecky's AMG sort of drive off. Lecky gets a great exit out of the final turn there, turn 16 I believe. So this is where it's going to play dividends. It looks like Lecky just gets it wrong there, so should give some Bath through. Last lap dramas.
Just making a little bit of a nudge on him. We can see the flashing lights there of Lecky. Maybe Lecky made a mistake to see those lights flashing. But Lecky jumps right back into the slipstream of St. Bath, so he's going to come and have another go at it. Looks as though he's going for that outside line as well. Let's see who's brave enough on the brakes. Looks as though St. Bath was brave enough. He was more than knowledgeable about what Lecky was trying to pull, and that is the way that you defend that outside line approach. You are going to be late on the brakes, otherwise they'll just cut straight across and the corner will be theirs. So Lecky falls back into 5th position now, just 4 tenths away from the back of St. Bath though, with 47 seconds remaining of the session.
The other thing St. Bath did there that was really nice to see is that he delayed turning in, so braked just just after Lecky, keeping alongside, and then delayed turning in, so Lecky had nowhere to go, had to wait for St. Bath to take the line away, and that's almost textbook defence into turn 1.
Indeed, it looks as though, just have a look over here, Bruce Law, let's just have a look where he is on track. So Bruce Law is now completing his final lap, which means that this is potentially, for a lot of drivers out on track, could well be their final lap of the race for anyone that's in Sector 1. Let's jump back over to that battle though between St. Bath and Lecky 2000 at the moment. Just coming into what is a tricky section. I think we've seen Lecky, well, we've seen two faces of Lecky throughout this. He's been able to make massive gains through people, but he's also made a few mistakes which have cost him. St. Bath looking pretty well planted through this chicane section, just riding enough of the curb there to try and cut it nicely, and it looks as though he's going to get the drive away, but Lecky looks as though he's keeping that straight line and going for that slipstream.
This is it. This is the last lap to get it done. So I'm probably praying that was going to be it. But Lecky could try around the outside again, late on the brakes, and again St. Bath just keeping Lecky pinned to the outside there, takes the line away from him, which means as they come into the exit of turn 2, as you've seen there, just Lecky has to lose all momentum. Great defence.
Yeah, Lecky just ran out of road there, didn't he? And it was testament to the defensive driving of St. Bath. Once again, just wise to the move that Lecky was trying to pull. I don't think Lecky had any other option but to try and do it. It is do or die for himself to try and get hold of this 4th place. As we can see from the race complete notification that Bruce Law has taken this one, it also means that Fast AF Gamer is also going to be finishing, crossing the line. In fact, he's crossed the line now in 2nd position.
And Lecky's sort of going to be wanting trying to get this move done onto this straight here, otherwise I don't think he's going to have enough time, so this is sort of going to be it for him now or never.
Lecky definitely had a good drive through that section there, and he's closed right back up onto St. Bath. St. Bath looks as though he might have a slowdown penalty, but he has got the inside line coming up into this next corner. St. Bath late on the brakes like an absolute pro, but Lecky going for the deeper line, running it long, and that inside line there just blocked off from St. Bath. So another great defensive drive from him. Lecky trying everything he can, but St. Bath just looks as though he's wise to them all, so it's going to take a mistake from him as we come into the final couple of corners.
Lecky's going to hope he has to get the drive out of here.
Gone a little bit too wide, so it is going to be St. Bath's. Once it finishes in 3rd, it's going to be St. Bath in 4th position, and Lecky 2000, valiant effort there, but a little bit of oversteer after catching that curb puts him in 5th place. Luke Snipes with a great finish from him, 6th position. He'll be more than happy with that, and then we have to go all the way back down to Uniclark, who actually managed to make up quite a lot of time in the end. He could have just done with another 30 minutes or so, and he might have got himself up into that battle between St. Bath, Lecky and Luke for 4th position. Luna Zodiac, after making a big collision with the wall, finds out that 8th position's good enough for him, with all U82 crossing the line in 9th. And then as we watch the final countdown timer, I don't think these lads are going to finish. We've got Old Smokey and KML Bryan yet to complete, unless they've already crossed the line, which actually I think they have. It might well just be KML Bryan yet to cross that line, and then we'll bring up our official standings, which are coming up momentarily. There they are. So Bruce Law gets the race victory. His perfect record for races started continues there. 1:45.301 was the fastest lap for the race as well, unless we can see something dramatic down at the bottom. Fast AF Gamer, fantastic run from him in 2nd, with Wanter in 3rd, and St. Bath making a recovery drive after his collision with Wanter before the first corner, just at the very start of this race, in 4th position. Lecky, valiant effort from him, but unfortunately a little bit of consistency cost him those positions. He finishes up in 5th. Luke Snipes with a great run in the end, getting 6th position. Uniclark also having to make a recovery drive. He does enough for 7th place above the Aussie driver Luna Zodiac in 8th place. All U82 finishes in 9th with Old Smokey in 10th. And KML Bryan ends up at the bottom of the rolling order. He's showing up as DNF there, but that's just because he didn't complete in time. In fact, it looks as though he's 6 laps down as well, so we will have to investigate that ever so slightly. So, fantastic racing here from our GT3 drivers. Another fantastic run as well from Bruce Law. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure that you don't miss any of the Flux Motorsport action. We'll be joining you once again on Thursday evening, 8 o'clock UK time, for the GT1s, and that's going to be around Laguna Seca. I've been your host for the evening. My name is Murphy GBR, and I've been joined by my co-host as well in the box, which is the console. Please make sure that you subscribe to all of our social media channels to make sure that you get all of the latest updates and standings for all of the championships that you can see here. And enjoy the rest of your evening, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the week ahead. Thank you very much, and have a good night.